Hi, folks. Just got back from a trip to Carlisle, and no, as you can tell from the title of the video, no, I did not go and attend Record Store Day. To be honest, I looked at the list in midweek, and there was not really that stood out for me. There were one or two things I might have been interested in, but probably not at the prices they would be asking for them. So my trip to Carlisle was purely for the Carlisle Record Fair. It's a good job, actually, that I didn't go for Record Store Day as the only shop in Carlisle. It seemed wasn't doing Record Store Day. Somebody said it was due to the guy who runs the store being ill. I don't know. Or it's, like I say, it's a good job. That wasn't the reason I went. Anyway, I managed to pick up some niceties from Carlisle. So as I've just got back, I've not had a chance to listen to any of these, so I don't know. I can't really comment on their quality. But I am pleased with what I've found. First off, I got a couple of CDs, and these were both, hope you can see with the glare, by Hugh Hopper. This is 4 by Hugh by 4, and this is Was a Friend. This was a series of, I think, 10 CDs that were put out by the Hopper estate after his passing. And they all comprised of unreleased studio and live material. A few record fairs ago at Carlisle, I managed to pick up about 3 or 4 from the set. With this, I've probably now got 5 or 6 in total. I would love to find the others. This first one, 4 plays Hugh's foremost tunes 4 ways for you. It's just 4 tracks with a lineup of Hugh Hopper on bass guitar, Robert Jarvis on trombone, Frank van der Kooi on tenor sax and bass clarinet, and Oscar Schutzer on drums. And it was recorded in Amsterdam in September 2000. The second one was volume 10, Was a Friend, comprises 5 tracks. The first one, the title track, was just a duet between Hugh Hopper on keyboards and bass samples and Robert Wyatt on vocals and piano. And that was recorded in France in 1983 and in Kent in 1995. The second one, Full Flight, was another duet, this time with Chris Cutler, Hugh Hopper playing bass guitar and electronics, and Chris Cutler, obviously the drummer of Henry Cow and Ardbears, was on drums and electronics. And that's from the Nose Art Festival in Cologne, Germany, March 2007. You then get Flight Full, another duet, this time Hopper on guitar and bass guitar and electronics with Seb Rochford on drums from the Roundhouse in London in 2006. You then get Dim 04, which is Hugh Hopper on fuzz bass samples and loops with Jeff Sherman on acoustic guitar and bass guitar. That's from 2007. And finally, Was a Friend again, with Dennis Collin on bass clarinet, Julian Orme on guitar, Hugh Hopper on bass guitar, and Francois Verly on percussion, which was taken from a concert in Finland, June the 7th, 2008, which was Hugh's last concert performance. So, yeah, pleased to pick those up. Put them down there. Now to the LPs. First up, I'll go with the two cheapies that were in the half price bin. And we have the debut album by the band Bronco, Country Home. Bronco were a sort of country rockish, west coastish style band. I've never heard an album in full. I've got a couple of tracks on CD comps. Their most famous member would have been Jess Roden, the vocalist, excellent vocalist, who went on to work in the Butts band with, was it Densmore and Krieger from the Doors? The other four members all worked with Robert Plant at one point or another. Kevin Gammond on acoustic and electric guitars, John Pasternak on bass, and Pete Robinson on drums. All were in Band of Joy. And Robbie Blunt on guitars played with Plant in the Honey Drippers in the 80s. This is on the Island label. And I think it's from, 1970. I think this should be pretty good. Next up is a duet by Andy Summers and Robert Fripp, I Advance Must. Never heard anything from this. Two excellent musicians, obviously well-known guitarists, Fripp from King Crimson, Andy Summers from the Police, though he was by far the oldest member in the Police and had got quite a history behind him. He was for a short while in Soft Machine when David Allen had to leave. But he didn't last long because he didn't get on with Kevin Ayers, so he was eventually sacked. He went on to join Eric Burdon and the New Animals for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years or something. And funnily enough, despite not getting on with Kevin Ayers, he ended up back in England eventually as part of Kevin Ayers' backing band. This is before he went to join the Police. As far as I know, this is all instrumental guitar music. I don't know if it involves Fripp's usual Frippatronics or not. They both play synths as well as guitars, and there is percussion and bass on here by the two of them. I think it'll be an interesting listen. Next up, 3 albums by the same band, and these were all initially sealed. I've broken the seal on them. I've opened them up, and that's the Groundhogs, and this is a reissue of their first album, Scratching the Surface, which was released in 1968. This is a 2018 reissue, which comes in a nice inner sleeve. And is on gold vinyl. This first album, I think, is very much in the vein of the British blues boom of the 60s. Doesn't include any of the proggier elements that they introduced later. And I also picked up Blues Obituary, their second album, this one from 1969, again on Fire Records. This time it comes with an inner sheet, just one-sided. and is again on gold vinyl. Static on these. Going to have to change these inner sleeves. This album, I think, is where they start to introduce a bit of that more proggy or experimental edge that they did post this album. And I should have mentioned, on the first album, they were actually a 4-piece band. The classic trio of Tony T.S. McPhee on guitar, Pete Cruikshank on bass, and Ketan Pustelnik on drums. But they were also joined by Steve Rye on harmonica and vocals. By the second album, Steve Rye had left the band, so they were down to the classic trio. And next up was this album, which I'd never seen before, Groundhogs. Roadhogs, live from Richmond to Pocono. This is a triple live album. I thought at first that this was a bootleg, or it's on Fire label, as are the 2 reissues of the first 2 albums. If I read from the hype sticker, these are never before heard recordings from the Warner Brothers vaults, including a vintage 1969 set from their show at the Richmond Athletic Ground, aka the Crawdaddy Club, and their final explosive set at the Pocono Raceway track. When they say final, it was the final concert for the classic trio. Includes a live debut of what would become the anthemic Cherry Red and McPhee's seismic destruction of Amazing Grace. A career-spanning gem from the ultimate heavy rock power trio, bookending 976 days and 250 plus live shows. So by the sound of it, this is going to be good quality. It says it's remastered from the original 1/4-inch tapes. And it comes, if I can get it out, with a poster. There you go. So that should be excellent. Sticking with the heaviest side of things, I next picked up this album by High Tide called Ice Age, Rare Tracks, Spring 1969 to Autumn 1970. Sorry for the glare. This is on the French label Verne, which is an unofficial, bootleg label. But I've got 2 things on that label, and they're always usually very good quality. This includes on side 1 just 2 tracks, the same track repeated, if you like. The Great Universal Protection Racket, recorded in June 1969, and then a version recorded in April 1970. The first being about 11.5 minutes long, the second nearly 16. Side 2 has 5 tracks, including 2 demos, Death Not Warmed Up and Pushed But Not Forgotten, that were demos for one of their albums. I can't remember which one now. I think the eponymous one. You then get, those are from 1969. You get a couple of other tracks from 69, Time Gauges and Dilemma, and it ends up with the title track Ice Age from Autumn 1970, Location Unknown. So this is the classic lineup of Tony Hill on guitar and vocals, Simon House on violin and organ. Simon House, who obviously went on to Hawkwind and then Bowie. Peter Pavley on bass and Roger Haddon on drums. I think they only ever did the 2 albums during their initial time, but eventually got back together in the 80s and 90s and produced quite a slew of albums. But this is, if you've never heard them, this is very heavy, dark prog, fairly experimental in places and improvisational, but like I said, very heavy. Sticking with the prog, I was really pleased to find this because I never see many of their albums knocking around, and this is Frupp, the Irish prog rock band, with their 4th album, Modern Masquerades. An excellent prog band. This comes with a really nice booklet, which goes through the history of the band, album by album, of which there are only 4, and then you get the lyrics. Like I said, really pleased to pick this one up. Obviously, this isn't an original. This is a 2021 reissue on the excellent Long Hair label. Long Hair being the label that reissued tons of krautrock albums. And finally, something that links to an album that I showed in my last video, and this is the Kittiness Ensemble. This is an album by Paul Buckmaster. Again, I'll probably best if I read from the Hype label. Certainly one of the most obscure and perhaps one of the most fascinating works of the English jazz revolution. Master of ceremonies is cellist Paul Buckmaster, known for his work with the Third Ear Band and for his later collaborations with Miles Davis, David Bowie and Elton John. Kittiness is his only album as leader, and it was recorded between the 31st of March and 13th of April 1970 by an orchestra of no less than 51 players with violins, violas and cellos. In this enormous lineup, we find the cream of English musicians involved, starting with trumpeter Ian Carr and ending with drummer John Marshall. The leader is on cello, his main instrument, but also on keyboards, which he shares with the excellent Pete Robinson. The music is organised in suites with very broad suggestions that draw from classical and contemporary music and then move back into jazz territory. And as you see there, it's limited vinyl on the Cosmic Jazz label. So this, when I say it links back to one album I showed before, that was the Sphincter Ensemble, which was Paul Buckmaster and Pete Robinson on that one. So this sounds very enticing to me. I think this is going to be a really good one. Obviously, again, this is a reissue. I'm not sure when the original album was released or when this issue was done either, seeing as it doesn't give you a year. Oh, well, it said, sorry, it did say that it was recorded in 1970, but I don't know when this reissue was done. Really looking forward to giving this a spin. So that was my pickups. Pretty happy with what I got at Carlisle. So I didn't miss RSD at all. I hope if you did attend RSD, you got what you wanted and you enjoyed what you got. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Take care, and I hope to see you soon.